Okay, everybody. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to pull up YouTube and see if people see that there are any things going wrong. All right, guys, can you see that we're back? I'm waiting for some people to show up and say hello. 59 Andy, thank you very much. All right, so, and here comes. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to pull up YouTube and see if people see that there are any things. And here we go. So, going wrong. All right, guys, can you see that we're back? I'm waiting for some kind of look at the people to show up and say hello. Got any questions? 59 Andy, thank you very much. All right, so, and here comes. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to pull up YouTube and see if people see. We have not been around for a while. Anything a little bit over a year. I think was the last time that we did an actual going wrong. All right, guys, can you see that we're back? I'm waiting for some kind of look at the people to show up and say hello. Got any questions? 59 Andy, thank you very much. Probably coming. All right, so the computer. Let's try that. Andy, give it a couple seconds, and we'll see if that works. If it doesn't, we're gonna. Actually, why don't we just put your phone up there, so that, or actually, we'll pull up my phone.
You see my batteries.
We'll pull up my phone here.
Let me see if I can get the cable to come further.
No, I'm going to pull up my phone because it's up there where we can see it. Oops. This is
So
all.
this video is delayed for us.
Yes, this video
Right.
is delayed
Okay.
for us. So I'm going to pull up the video on our YouTube channel on my phone.
Okay, he's saying it's good now.
Yes, it's
Or
good
they're
now
saying good now.
because I managed to. Sorry, guys. Okay, I'm going to try it this way. Try to get Michelle back in the shot, and we'll go this way. So what we're doing is we're using a program called Wirecast. Interesting. Oh, there we go. Got to switch to the other camera. That would help. So we're using a program called Wirecast, which allows us to use multiple cameras and show pictures and videos and things like that. I haven't remembered, it's been many years since I've used Wirecast. Don't remember how to get the videos to work so that you can hear what's going on, but maybe you will hear something. But I'm going to go here and look and see sorry, seeing myself a few seconds.
Delayed
A
is
few seconds
odd.
delayed is weird. I'm gonna look and see if anybody has any comments or questions. But so a year ago or so was the last time we did any amateur radio content on Hamradio.World, and some of you may know that I went in to have a surgery for a mitral valve repair on December 8th, I believe it was December 8th or December, yeah, 8th of 2021. I walked into the hospital, got into the hospital bed, took a picture of myself, posted it to Facebook, and I literally woke up. I woke up 2 months later.
Well, you woke up the first time sooner.
Woke up the first time sooner. I don't recall
We can
waking
share
up.
that stuff, but yeah.
So anyhow, something went horrifically wrong in the operating room, and I died numerous times on the operating table, and they brought me back many times. Got transferred from Daytona Beach to Orlando, and was in the hospital in Orlando until about this time last year, just the end of February, and then spent another month and a half in the hospital in Daytona Beach, and got out in the middle of April. And during that time, I became an amputee. I have lost at least part of all 10 of my fingers. I'm going to go and make sure that you can actually see this. I'll switch to the...
Well, in February you lost.
Yeah, in February I lost my legs, and then in June I lost the fingers on my right hand, and then in July I lost them on my left hand, and then here's if we
Your
can try
dates may be off, but
yeah,
ballpark.
and then I'll back up here, see if you can see my legs. Can you see my legs?
No.
Let's see. There's my legs. Last time, I'll do that tonight. Anyhow, I lost my legs in February, and have begun a...
You went faster, I think, than you pulled up pictures here that you were thinking about showing, but
Yeah.
maybe you wait. Maybe you. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
Maybe
think we're gonna
now
go.
might be.
There's not a whole lot of people in the live stream now, or...
Well, no, I'm not necessarily saying that. But
So go ahead.
they're just they're graphic.
Okay, yeah, I'll go back to see the chat and see who wants to see graphic photos. We don't want to run you off right at the beginning of the stream. So is anybody, there's 8 people watching. So guys, people who are in here, you've seen some of the pictures on Facebook. If you want to see them now, just give me a thumbs up in here, and we'll talk about some of the stuff that happened to me. But in the meantime, we're not exactly sure what happened in the operating room. Obviously, I don't remember any of it, and I don't remember waking up, I guess the first time when in December,
Yeah.
right around Christmas.
Yeah. I had brought the children in to say their goodbyes. Don't know if you were wanting to talk or wanting me to talk, but
You can talk. You know more about it than I do, actually.
I do. The doctors were giving me the impression that, well, they told me they were thinking he was brain dead. So they were giving me the impression that it was time to start thinking of pulling the plug. So I brought all the children in. They didn't want to go on Christmas Day to see him, so we stayed at home Christmas Day and the day after Christmas. I brought all of our children in to say their goodbyes. I had asked the doctors and the staff, could they allow each of the children to have time to be able to say what they wanted to say without anybody else in the room. So I asked if the nurses that were usually with him in the room 24/7, if whatever nurse happened to be there would be able to wait out in the hall, but monitor from the hall. So they turned all the monitors so that they could see, and they were going to let every one of the children have their one-on-one time with him. And when I got into the room, I did what I always did, and I said, "Hey, dear, we're here." And when I said that, your eyes popped open. You didn't really know where you were or anything like that, but your eyes popped open. So it was pretty amazing story to go through that. You're distracted.
I'm sorry. I'm sharing that I'm sharing that I'm doing the live stream.
He's taking the pictures down and all. Anyway, so I did the same thing, but with him awake. I allowed each of the children to say what they wanted to say by themselves with him, so they were able to. My thoughts were, if he still didn't make it, because they were still thinking that he really might not make it, I wanted them to be able to have no regrets, that they got to say whatever it is they wanted to say.
Yeah.
So, we got that up there too. So, he woke up, he was awake. I don't right offhand, I don't even remember how long, a few days, and then they put him under a medically induced, with medicines, put him into a coma. Up to that point, it was a coma, and they were trying to wake him up, and he wouldn't wake up. I don't know what else you want me to say.
So
There's a lot to say, but I don't know.
So we've gotten all cleared to land from Captain Dave, and Davey says okay. Dennis says okay. We've seen some pictures. So we're going to show some graphic pictures here of some of the things in the hospital. So these.
I don't know if you want to start with that one.
Okay.
That one was the first one that I think I took.
Okay. So I should move it over here. So this is a couple days in, and I'll let Michelle talk about.
That was a weekend.
It was a weekend.
I think that was
okay.
a weekend.
And Michelle, you can actually airdrop me pictures if you want, and I can add them to here.
Not necessarily, but anyway, that was. I wish I had taken the towel off, but yeah, that was what he looked like. Yeah, that's what he looked like for weeks. I mean, that one is from the 15th, so the operation was on the 8th. His chest was open for about 3 weeks. They couldn't close it. They kept going in more and more.
So there's a shot of the chest open.
Yeah.
I will say that during this time I died several times. I just wow. What do I want to say? I remember dying a few of the times, and I'll talk about that in a little bit if people want to hear about it. I know one of the things that Michelle likes to show people when she talks about me being in the hospital. What's that? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well,
sorry,
I don't
we're
know what
trying
you're
to.
gonna say. I guess some of the impressive things were is he was on every form of life support that exists, and one by one, God has brought him off. All of his vital organs had shut down or been shut down. to put on various forms of life support. He was on an ECMO machine. He was on ventilators.
We'll
He was
show
on.
that here. This is an ECMO machine here. But I think it's okay.
Okay.
You were saying I was on ventilators and
So he was on every form of life support. The amount of IVs were incredible. The ECMO tubes were the size of a garden hose for the blood going in and out. It was odd. I say all the time to him, it was very odd that to breathe, his chest didn't go up and down because he was on all the ECMO and the ventilators and or the ECMO machine, which is heart and lung machine. So it was doing all the breathing for him, so his chest didn't need to move up and down, and it was able to heal. They were hoping that by putting him on the ECMO and leaving him there for a while, it would allow his body to heal.
I'll show a closer up of this.
Is that what they can see over there?
Yeah, so the
Okay.
right is the one they can see.
So the tube going in, the big blood tube going into his shoulder is from the ECMO machines. He had 2 of them up there, which you can't see. 2 of them there, and 2 in each leg.
I've got
This
a
was
lot
this
of
was
scars.
very late because you
Yeah,
had
this was late, I
you
think.
had a trach. This was pre-trach. But you were closed up, so that's at least a month in. I believe. I can't see the
Okay.
date on it, but
So this is probably a month in. I guess let's go back a little. Sorry.
So one of the things that happened is when you have trauma like this, they were telling me that your body goes into fight or flight mode, and so it puts all the blood to your brain, your heart, and your lungs. And we've discovered early on, I guess, because he was bleeding out everywhere, that it wasn't enough. So they put him on what they call pressors, and you should show
Yeah,
them.
the
So the
pressors.
pressor, they told me on day 1, the doctor said he would likely lose.
Yeah, I'm going to show what my foot looked like
Body
when
parts.
it was healthy. I'm getting the picture ready here to show.
Well, that was semi-healthy. That was
Yeah,
starting
it was
to.
swelling.
It was starting to have
Starting to-
issues.
Yeah, it doesn't look like my foot did when I went into the hospital. But this is what the foot looked like about a week in, and then this is what my feet looked like by the time I woke up.
From the coma.
From the coma, yeah. And I'll show another picture here. It kind of shows what they look like. And I know some people ask some pictures. What is ECMO? ECMO is a heart and lung machine that keeps you alive.
They're tough to get these days because the very sick COVID patients have them.
Any pictures?
During the surgery, his lungs had filled and gotten hard when they took him off the bypass machine, and I didn't know at the time, but what they filled with was blood, and because he was bleeding out, so they had to put him on the ECMO machine to do all the breathing for him, hoping that they would be able to get his lungs to empty, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah.
I'm not totally sure. This is a different, no, it's the same room.
Same room. I think this just kind of shows
The,
over Michelle's shoulder. You can see how, just a little bit of how many IVs I had.
yeah, you had.
Had a lot.
He had what I call an IV tree, and you go into surgery and you have you have your one IV.
Huh.
Don't know that I do that.
Okay.
You have your one IV hooked up to your to your arm or whatever. He had what I call an IV tree. I don't know what they call it, but I called it an IV tree, and it was, I think it was 4 across and 5 down, so 20 IVs. I think it was on the same tree, and that was on one side of the room, and then he had another smaller IV tree that was just beyond the dialysis machine, because certain medicines are taken out by the dialysis machine, and so they need it in your body as long as possible, so they would put it just at the outside of the dialysis machine so it would make the full loop of their system that they had him on, and then it would stay in the body longer, as long as they could. So at the bottom of the bed, I only had about a foot to stand, and they didn't really want me touching him in any way, or standing anywhere but that 1 foot that they had given me to stand.
I think one of the things, these pictures, Michelle, that shows me is how much fluid I had.
Mm-hmm.
I swelled up like crazy. And they had me, my kidneys shut down. I was on 24/7 dialysis. I think they told you I would
Mm-hmm.
never come off dialysis.
Yes.
What were some of the things, like, I know they told you some things about me being sick. And if you can relate what they told you about me being the sickest person
Well, I
here,
mean,
there, and everywhere else.
every time I would speak to a doctor, they just continually said he's a very sick man, and they would say very sick. And anytime I thought something positive happened, they would be like, well, yeah, but no, he's still very sick. He is nowhere out of the woods. And one of the doctors finally put it into a different perspective for me, and he said, so the saying at out of the woods, he said he can't even see the edge of the woods. He is so far in the middle of the like Amazon forest. There's no light. You can't even think that he was remotely close to the light of getting out and seeing the edge of the woods. And after I don't know, many weeks, he said, okay, he's starting to see the edge of the woods, but he's nowhere close. But they kept implying how, really not implying, they were outright saying how sick he was, and it became, he's the sickest person on the floor. Then it became, well, this is actually for the sickest people in the hospital, so he's the sickest person in the hospital. To he's the sickest person in the city. To he's the sickest person in the state. Then they were saying he's the sickest person in the whole Southeast.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were saying, we think he's probably the sickest person in the whole U.S., but we can't say that for sure because we don't have all the records of the people. But every time they would say something, they would say, by far, he is the sickest person by far.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
God's worked miracles.
I'm definitely a miracle. Let's see if anybody's posted anything in the chat here.
I don't know if you're seeing anything. ECMO is in an artificial heart. I don't know exactly what they say. It's doing all. I would say yes in a way. I suppose.
does like the heart and
It does the
lungs.
heart and lungs. And they started out with one lung for him, but it wasn't enough. So they had to add a second, I'm not sure what they call it, chamber, I guess. Um, it was like a diamond shape. It was like a square box turned to me more of a diamond shaped, and it looked like the blood ran through it.
Mm.
Um, and they had to add a second one. That was very early on. They discovered they needed to add a second one. I'll say ham radio wise, one of the things that we tried to do, and I can go get it. Um, we, I had a friend. I knew that James knew about the POW, who knew Morse code and gave
Yes.
the as he was
Yeah.
saying everything was going well, he was giving messages with his eyes blinking in Morse code. When James woke up from the coma, he had trachs, he had breathing, no, he didn't have a trach. He had the breathing tubes and all still in his mouth. So I turned on my video camera and I asked if he had anything he wanted to say or anything he wanted to ask. And I said, you can blink it out in Morse code. And we tried that. I got the children. One of the children, I think, was there because I usually had one of them with me, so that because they were only allowed to have two in the room. So usually I would go, and some days I would bring one of the children or two of the children with me, and we would just trade off. He tried going back to the Morse code message. So I had the children, and we were watching. I don't know Morse code, so I had the children watching to see if they could pick up on what he was saying. So I videotaped it. We got some words, or some letters, I guess I should say, not so much words. And then I contacted a few friends, Easy and Julio.
Yeah.
And I got them. I got Easy the message, friend of ours, Easy. I got him the message, and I let him know what we had done. And he looked through it, and he and Julio both tried hard, and they got some letters and they got some words, but James was just too drugged
Yeah.
to be able
Oh, my
to
goodness.
send a message. He got a few letters and that they could get, but he would just fall asleep in the middle of trying to send the message. But we tried.
I still fall asleep.
You
at a
still
moment's
fall asleep
notice.
all the time.
Unless it's at nighttime, and then I can't
Well, no.
sleep. So,
You still do, but you're more like a newborn baby. You just sleep all the time.
Yeah.
Your body is going through so much,
yeah.
I don't know, growth or trauma.
I think trying to get better from the trauma. I know that it felt like when I was in the hospital, it felt like I was. You're gonna go get
I'm
some.
gonna go get something. Yeah.
So I will cut to a closer camera here. It felt like when I was in the hospital, it felt like I was drugged, and like I was hallucinating, and I'm pretty sure I was hallucinating, and on many occasions. So many weird things happened, and my memory, my short-term memory went away. I could still remember things from way in the past, but I couldn't remember things from a few seconds earlier or the day before. It was really frustrating for Michelle to have me keep saying the same thing over and over and over again. So yeah, that was one of the big things that was a major problem with being in the hospital and being drugged like that. So I'm going to see real quick, does anybody have any questions that you want to ask? Or you want us to kind of just keep going on with what we're doing now? Telling the story. I will, all right, here comes Michelle. So I'm going to let Michelle say something. Let me pull up the camera. It shows. Okay, yeah, let me get this. All right, so yes, we are going to be heading to Xenia, WRL guy. And we will keep going, Andy. We'll go back to this, and we will have more question and answer, I guess, at the end. So yeah, Michelle did this really cool thing.
So when we couldn't get the Morse code to work, we tried to. We just wanted him to be able to communicate, and to be able to communicate with him. But we ended up spending, I can't tell you how many hours, trying to communicate. So I thought, well, maybe if I brought in something like this. So I brought this. I used to bring this with me every day. And he would just spell out words.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
But he was so messed up in the head that it would take all day long. It would take all day long to try to spell out one word. It got to the point where I had to keep my phone open, like a just a program where I could just type something, and if he said, if I would point to a letter and he would say yes, then I would put that letter down, and then I'd spell it. And I'd try, if it became like a word game almost, and I would get halfway through and I would start guessing, is it this, is it this, is it this that you're trying to say?
And I would forget what I was trying to say.
And he would forget. Or he'd change the word on me and I'd have to start all over again.
Yes, I would forget. And that was...
And one of the first words he wanted me to spell out was like psychedelic.
Yes, because I felt like they were giving me psychedelic drugs. I was like, this is the worst trip that anybody could ever be on. And I don't know, was it psychedelic drugs? Who knows?
I had high hopes for this. I don't know if that can be picked up, but I had high hopes. I had high hopes that maybe we could point out words and get whole words. But that was nowhere.
Yeah,
that wasn't happening. So I had to use this. But really, it became something where the nurses were kind of like, yeah, leave that. They wanted to use it. So there really wasn't any way for him to communicate. Apparently, they don't have people that he was so different from most of their patients that they didn't know how to handle it. So they had charts, but the charts were more for people who could communicate and one of his problems was when he woke up, he couldn't see and couldn't hear. So he couldn't see those little words.
Yeah, my eyes quit working.
So all he could see were these huge letters. So we would just spend all day long trying to spell things.
Yeah, we've come to find out later my corneas are all scratched up and scarred now.
Yeah.
Possibly because my eyes were open during while I was in a coma, and possibly they didn't put drops in them. We don't know for sure what happened.
Well, they weren't putting them in often enough.
So my eyesight is permanently messed up, to the point that I have these huge, ginormous contacts that go in my eye and make it better so I can see, but without fingers to be able to hold my eyelids open. I've only got them in twice. So yeah.
I'll say another thing that we were trying to do with like the ham radio stuff is, well, he was in a coma. Do you have a picture of Hope in there? Well, he was in a coma. Not that one. Well, he was in the coma. We were thinking, they say sometimes people hear you, sometimes they know what you're saying and all. And so Hope would stand next to him and try to do Morse code. Is it that one?
Is that Hope?
Yes.
Yes, and that airdrop that to me.
Okay.
And
here. It says it's turned off.
Wi-Fi and Bluetooth are off on your phone?
Looks like it.
Okay, so go into your settings. We'll get there. Wi-Fi is turned on. Yeah, it's on. So,
Sorry, we're trying to see if I can send this so you guys can see this.
James.
Okay.
Okay, I will
Let's see if I
accept
can find
it
another
from
one
you.
here.
So, give me just a second here to save to downloads, and then
So anyway, Hope would stand there. Actually, this is the day she was doing it. This is the day she was
send it to you.
sending. Oops. Yeah. She would tap out messages to him on his shoulder.
Okay, don't cancel it.
Oh, did I cancel it?
I think you canceled it.
Okay, sorry. I'm not that tech savvy.
Yeah, we'll stand by while we work on
Sorry.
our difficulties here. Okay, so let me accept it. And don't do
Okay,
anything
see it.
with it. Don't do anything with it until it's done. Okay, going up. Okay,
So,
now I get to
so anyway,
open it.
she would send him messages on his arm. She would just tap out
Yes, she would.
various messages. Oh, I just dropped them off.
Yeah, she would send me messages in Morse code on my arm.
And we think at the end he heard it.
Well,
Or
one
that-
time
that he got it.
she tapped out "I am Groot" from the Guardians of the Galaxy, and I did get that. I do remember her doing that. So yeah, she did. She did do "I am Groot," and that is something that I heard
Well,
or copied. So here we go. That's Hope. And she was tapping to me. So thanks for bearing with all the technical difficulties here.
and this picture right here was right before Hamcation.
This was right before
We had
Hamcation.
last year. We had
Last
stopped
year.
by to say that we were leaving for Hamcation, and they had just called rapid response for you. So we hung around to wait for that, see how that panned out.
Wow, rapid response. I hated rapid response.
They had to call rapid response, which is the hospital's version of calling 911.
911, yeah.
They called rapid response several times. I think 3 times. I think they called it one. I think that this particular day was tough because the people that were called for rapid response were all older than you. And I think that really
Yeah.
struck them hard that this is such a young guy going through all of this. I can't remember what your oxygen levels were, but they were
They were
super
down in
low,
the 60s.
I
They
think.
were in the 60s.
Um,
I remember at this day, I was having to tell myself to breathe
Uh-huh.
because I was hyperventilating so much that I had to slow myself down and say, breathe, 2, 3, 4,
Mhm.
in and out. And I was having to tell myself to breathe. And alarms kept going off in there.
Yeah.
And then,
This was a different floor. They had
Yeah.
moved you down a floor. And again, they didn't know what to do with him. He was not your typical patient. So they kept turning off the alarms because they were just like, it's too much to keep coming in here and checking on him. So they kept turning them off. And I
Yeah.
kept saying, you can't turn him off. And they said, well, we just can't. He's just too much work for us. There's one nurse and she's got to take care of 5 patients.
yeah.
And so by turning him off, now they weren't checking his oxygen the way they needed to be, and now it got down to 60.
Yeah, and then I got moved back upstairs
To just
Um,
outside the operating room.
just outside the operating room, and that meant that I wasn't going to be allowed to have the food that I wanted to have, and
Visitors.
visitors. Yeah,
So we didn't get to see him because through Hamcation, I was hoping Hamcation is like, it was 4 miles away. So we
Yeah.
thought, okay, we'll get to see him now more than what we had been seeing him. Well, maybe not more, but it was going to be closer, so we would be able to see him several times and come and go easier. But then they moved him, and now
Yeah.
he wasn't allowed any visitors again.
that didn't happen.
Um,
So
we have some
Yeah.
some pictures here of things that several staff of the hospital were not very positive. They were I'm not sure
they
what
were
you
downright negative.
they-
It was just, I feel so sorry for you, and it's so horrible what happened to you. And, oh, this is so terrible, and your life has changed.
your life
and,
is over type
yeah,
thing.
And I'm like, okay, first of all, yeah, I look, I probably maybe had my heart valve blow up because of going and doing relief work in the Bahamas and getting West Nile virus, and all of this was, something went wrong in the operating room. We don't know what, but whatever started it was I was doing what I loved doing, which was helping people. And I'd go do it again, knowing that I would be bitten by that mosquito again, and have this happen to me. I don't want it to happen to me. I mean, it's not like hey, I'm loving this, because I'm not.
But a soldier would do it again.
Yeah, I guess. So anyway, there's a guy named Jason Redman who is a Navy SEAL who had half his face shot off in Iraq, I think it was, or Afghanistan. And when he was in the hospital, people were having pity parties for him, and he had some quotes that he put outside his door. And
Was that these were one of them?
Here we go. No man truly knows what he is made of until, I can't read it backwards.
Oh.
Until he goes up and slaps the dragon. So I had this one hung. I literally went up and slapped the dragon a couple times. And Jason said when he had been shot, he said, "I feel awesome. It feels like I've been given a second chance. I don't exactly understand what was written here, but basically, pay it forward and try to motivate and inspire other people. And I'm trying to pay it forward."
Someone wrote these
Yeah, somebody wrote
when he told our friend Lisa about Jason's quotes that have inspired him in the past. She went and made these signs for him. I think, but the wording's kind of funny on this one, so I don't know for sure what
I'm
it's
not
trying to
exactly sure
say.
what she was trying
And
to
I
say.
think this one is Jason, but she didn't put a quote on
Well,
it, so
I'll
or she
read
didn't
it.
put a name on who actually said it, but I think it's Jason.
I know this one is Jason. So everyone who encounters adversity in life, sometimes it is small, sometimes life-changing. How you handle it starts and ends with you. The measure of a person is not found in his or her past, but in how he or she overcomes adversity and builds the future. Outlook will always determine outcome. So this, among with other things, were hung around my room. So this is the camera here.
It's shadowed.
Okay. That's the, that was hung around my room.
Yeah.
And I know Jason had, Jason, I believe, wrote this and put this on his door, and Lisa got it and off of his website and put it on my door. It says, if you're coming into this room with sorrow or to feel sorry for my wounds, go elsewhere. The wounds I have are out of love, supported by the people I love, and support the country that I deeply love. I am incredibly tough and will make a full recovery. What is full? That is the absolute utmost. Physically, my body has the ability to recover. Then I will push that about 20% further through sheer mental tenacity. The room you are about to enter is a room of fun, optimism, and intense rapid regrowth. If you are not prepared for that, go elsewhere from the management. So this one was hung outside the door. I'd like to say that, every day I had this attitude. I didn't. But it's generally the attitude I try to have. So there were other ones, be positive or get out. After telling off a couple nurses, I had to point them to that sign because they were so negative.
That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
So
So
anyhow,
he had these around his room,
yeah,
and he made them read
yeah.
these signs before they were allowed to come in. It got to that point.
Each new nurse had to read it because I really got tired
And
of hearing.
doctor.
And doctor, I got so tired of hearing, oh, I'm so sorry about what happened to you, and this is so horrible, and this is so bad. It just.
Well, I'm going to say, being in the hospital so long, they say that there are ICU syndrome, where the person starts, in a way, going crazy.
Yeah.
And I discovered that was happening, in that he did not know how to talk about anything but himself, because every time a nurse or a doctor or anybody walked in the room, first thing they did was say, tell me about yourself. What's wrong today? How are you hurting today? Everything was about him. And it got to the point where I would go and I would really struggle, because I would say, I need for you to focus on things outside of this place. Taxes are due. I have to get taxes done. I've got to take care of some business questions. Who do I need to talk to? That kind of stuff. And he didn't even know that I was even asking the questions. You had lost your ability to think beyond yourself because of all that had happened and all that was happening. So these signs helped. I know I talked to staff to say we need to get him thinking about things beyond himself, because they were seeing it too. Once I pointed it out, they were like, yeah, you're right. So they started engaging him in other conversations.
Yeah. Other conversations. And speaking of other conversations, there are some questions here. So
Go ahead.
Dennis is asking, how did your daughters do with this, and how are they now? Hey, Hope, you busy? You able to come out?
I'm gonna say, but while we're waiting on Hope, I have amazing children. We have amazing children.
Yes, we do.
They held down the fort. I could not do it had it not been for them. I could not go to the hospital. They're all in school. Well, Grace was the only one that was still at home, homeschooling. All the rest were in college, but they were living home. Zechariah, who was 19, he's 20 now, he took it upon himself to do all the grocery shopping. Grace took it upon herself to do all the cooking. She started doing the laundry. Hope was handling all the business. Faith Hannah was pretty busy with school, so she didn't get to do much, but they stepped up. I didn't ask them to. They just stepped up and started doing things. I think that it changed Faith Hannah's career path.
Yeah.
I think that it changed some career paths. She had some of the best doctors in the country that she had next to her all the time, because they were in James's room, and she had the opportunity that she could have talked to them and asked them questions, and I found that she did not want to be asking a whole lot.
Faith Hannah.
Faith Hannah. So I think it's changed her career path. She was on the career path to become a surgeon.
Or a doctor.
Or
yeah.
well, a doctor. But likely she was thinking about becoming a cardiologist. I think that this has changed her path.
So let's ask
Hope's
Hope.
here.
Hope, somebody asked, how did your daughters do with this, and how are they now? So why don't you
You're kind of cut off there.
you come in
It's delayed.
and how did you deal with this and or do with how you doing now, and how did you deal with it?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I will say, Hope, of all of the children, has probably been the closest to James, and I thought she would be the hardest hit. Again, they surprised me because Hope became the rock. She held everybody together. She held the business together. She was our family's rock. Some of the children that I thought would do very well with it hit them very hard. Zechariah, I think, had his humor started showing, and anybody that knows how humor is handled when there's great trauma, it's a defense mechanism. Zechariah saw James. He was the first to see James after
Yeah, we'll show the picture here.
yeah, right after the amputation. So this is right after.
When Zechariah saw these amputations, what did he say, Hope?
I wasn't there, but he came back and he was like, I told him he got too close to a lightsaber.
You got too close to a lightsaber.
Yeah. He said, Dad, you got too close to a lightsaber. And I thought that was awesome because it set the tone. Zechariah was the first one to say anything.
Zechariah really picked up on the whole dad jokes. He wasn't here to give his horrible puns.
Yes,
He picked up the slack.
Zechariah took over the dad
yes,
jokes.
Yes, Zechariah, his humor has blossomed.
It's no longer suppressed by the other
Yes, it's no longer suppressed.
That's good to know.
So,
So Hope, I'm sure there's some people who would love to know what's going on with you. Hey, thank you, Fred. We appreciate that. But
can I go on and say, when I say Hope held the business, James had sold all of our go boxes at the last Hamfest, thinking he would be having the next 6 weeks to heal after his heart surgery,
yeah.
that he would have time to build and replenish our demo boxes. Obviously, that went south, and that didn't happen. So Hope pulled it together and made, or told us what to do, but mostly Hope made all the go boxes from memory. Because what would normally happen is James had his part that he did, Hope had her part that she did. Now she's having to do all of his stuff. So she was pretty amazing. Amazing.
He's not a record keeper. There's no pictures, no descriptions. no parts list up to date.
There are now.
Well, there are now, but there
But
weren't.
Hope and I did that.
There are now. But Hope, let's talk just about you for a second here. You and I were kind of the face of Hamradio.World for the last couple of years, where we did things together. You, me, and Grace would go out and do operations, and now you've kind of blossomed on your own, and you're doing cool things on your own. So what are some of the cool things
You want her to sit down?
that you've done? Yeah, have a seat. You're in the hot seat. What are some of the cool things that you've done over the last year and a half that people don't know about? This is a live stream where people are getting a chance to hear about what we've done, and you've done some cool things too. So one of them involves
Hang on, do I just need to get the CV?
Hope has a very impressive 6 or 7 page curriculum vitae. But no, what did you do back in October? Some people know about, because we did make a video about it on the YouTube channel, but
And some people worked me.
and some people worked you. What was that all about? What did you get to do? And I think we have some pictures of that.
Yeah. I was selected. There were 7 kids who got to go to the Mars Desert Research Station, which it's run by the Mars Society. It's out in Utah, out in the middle of the desert. And the Utah, for those who live there, I'm sure you've noticed, it really simulates Mars very well, because it's got that rugged territory. It's pretty barren. And so that's what they do, is they simulate the surface of Mars. And so I was a part of the first high school crew that got to go to the Mars Desert Research Station, which was in October. I was the crew communications officer, because probably because I am. And so we built the station to go out there, and they set up the antenna on an EVA, and we got to work an analog Mars station. It was the first Mars station. So for those of you who worked me, thank you for working me, and congratulations for being the first person to talk to sort of Mars.
So yeah, so keep talking. I'm going to, oops, that's an HEIC as well. So Apple's got this new high efficiency image container, or .HEIC, which makes it so you can't put a picture into this program. So keep talking, Hope. I'm going to real quick go into oh, not Illustrator, Photoshop. Need to go into Photoshop and change it to a PNG so we can show a picture of you at Mars.
Okay.
So you
I
got,
don't
so
really know what else
here's
to-
a picture of you at Mars, and this is
But can they see it?
not yet.
Okay.
I'm having to export it real quick and then import it into the
I can find a picture, maybe I could just
program.
put it up there.
Basically our job at MDRS was, since we were the first crew to go to the
Look, here's
station as
Where- where?
high schoolers,
that one.
Oh,
No,
one,
this
yeah.
one.
which
So there's Hope at the airport.
Yeah, let's hope at the airport.
That was on your way home.
Do you have any showing the station? Basically, the station is set up to where it's a sealed habitat that you live in for the duration. Most crews are there for at least 2 weeks. We were only there for like 8 or 9 days, because it was in the middle of the semester with a bunch of high schoolers. So we all had a bunch of school to work on, but for the most part, everybody tried to free up the weeks so that we could focus on learning the aspects of the mission. We didn't organize our own research like most crews would have. The general idea is that you go to Mars, you bring in all your equipment, you know exactly who's doing what samples you need to collect on an EVA. Since we were all kind of new to it, this was more of an introduction, so we learned a lot about the Martian climate, the Martian or the MDRS habitat. We learned a lot about life support systems that would be used on Mars, and we did get to talk a lot about the research that would happen on a mission to really Mars, which was kind of cool for me because that's what I want to do.
You want to go to Mars?
Yes, I want to go to Mars. And we were also invited back for like sometime this November, although I talked to the crew members yesterday and we don't know for sure what's going on with that. But the idea is that when we go back, we'll have learned all the stuff like that, as if this October was just a training mission on Earth, and then the next one is like our real mission to Mars. We'll be conducting our own research. I'm told that I'll have a specified time to actually be on the air. It was hard to find a free time to talk on the radio.
You're talking really fast.
Yeah,
Slow down.
slow it down, talk slower, and I will get some more pictures here of you on Mars while you're talking.
Sorry.
So you got on the air.
Yeah, I only made like 40-ish contacts. I'm wanting to make a whole lot more next time, and then also maybe have a special QSL card for people. Being that it is the first amateur radio station on Mars, I was the first person to use it. None of the other crew members were hams, although some of them were interested in it after that, so I don't know, maybe next time I won't be the only operator. But some other crews have already used it. At least one I know specifically used it. And then I know of another crew actually during the week of Dayton. The lady who told me about MDRS is a ham, and she will be using the same radio station which we left on Mars. And so there's going to be a lot of opportunity to talk to MDRS. There's also some other research stations in like the Arctic that is also run by the Mars Society. We haven't gotten any plans to go there yet, but it would be cool to have like an analog Mars station talk to another Mars station. I was this close to doing that, sort of. There's another research station even besides the two from the Mars Society, and another ham I knew was at that station, and so she was asking, would we want to like schedule a Mars to Mars, as if two Mars colonies were talking to each other. I thought that would be really cool, but we didn't match up our operating times. Next time. But
So, hey, I hope they're asking, were there also time delays due to the simulated distance? You can talk about that
oh, okay, yes.
for a
So
minute. And Dennis, we will get the your answer to your question in a minute. Were there time delays?
yes, so the Dr. Rupert is the director of MDRS, and she was the one who did a lot of our training. One of the best takeaways she said was that right from the start, you only get into your simulation what you put into it. So we weren't allowed to text without having a delay. So like if you were to send me a text, I would have to wait like 14-ish minutes before I could technically read it, and then I would have to wait that much more longer to reply, just to simulate that time difference. And then also, when doing ham radio, it was going to be kind of hard to have people wait almost half an hour to have just two communications back and forth. So we just asked that if people were to spot us, that they would wait the 14 minutes after hearing us to try and simulate that. I want to be the first person, if I go to Mars or the moon, to have a pilot from either of those places. So that'll be interesting to try and set up with a real time delay. So
Yeah.
people will have to really work with us. If anybody breaks the rules, I'm not wasting my time on them.
Yeah, so actually Hope literally wants to have, to be the first person to make a contact from the moon to Earth, and to have a pilot. And so I have already said that I want to be the person who makes the first contact, and then Mom can be the second or the first. So
Yeah.
Did you show the pictures? I can explain some of them.
Okay, so we showed some of the pictures of let's show this picture again here.
Okay. So that was out. That was taken when we were out on an EVA. Not the EVA I died on.
Okay, I need to find the.
Okay, so EVA is extravehicular activity. Basically, it's where you go outside the hab, but you have to wear your flight suit.
And what is the hab?
Okay. MDRS is set up so that it simulates a hab or a habitat that is sealed away from the Martian environment, and that's where you can live in for weeks or months or however long the Martian mission would be. You live there without having to wear a spacesuit. But if you want to go outside to collect any samples, to do repairs, use the rovers, anything like that, you have to go out on an EVA. EVA is extravehicular activity, I think, which basically, so a spacesuit is a space vehicle. It is an enclosed capsule to hold a single person so that they can go outside in the Martian environment and not kind of implode, as it may be. So when we went out, we went to hike for various reasons, depending on the day. The one I went on, we decided that we wanted to find some salt deposits and then do some work with those minerals. And so that's where we were heading, but I'm a lot shorter than the rest of the crew, so I used the special spacesuit that's like would be shorter, because I thought it would be better for me to use that one. But not a lot of people ended up using it in the past, so nobody had noticed that the airflow wasn't working. So through the hike, it just got harder and harder to breathe, so I had to stop and they had to remove my helmet. So I was the first kid to die on Mars, officially or unofficially, however you want to put it.
I've got a picture of when Hope died.
Oh, yeah.
Here's first during the, what was this?
Okay. So that
before
was, we were going over when we first got there, is like the first morning at breakfast, we were going over the rules for the week. And one of the things we started to talk about is how to die. This is something that our crew journalist wrote up very beautifully. Well, that's the thing though, is on Mars, there's more ways to die than not. So, I suppose it would have been easier to write how not to die, but she wanted to have a very thorough list. This actually is before we added some other rules throughout the week. But this was our baseline to start with. How to die 101. You can't break any major rules. The rules were laid out in other ways, or in another spot. We weren't allowed to exit the hab without any gear on. So basically, if we weren't wearing an EVA suit, you're dead, because you'd sort of implode and yeah, you're dead.
Here's the picture.
If there's an accident on an EVA, which it so turned out like 2 days later, that would be exactly what happened to me. Or when we were writing it, our crew commander was the only adult in our crew. When we were going over the rules of how to die or how not to die, he got all excited and was telling us how you would get space, like what is spacing. Okay, can they see it?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. He pulled up a picture of
I've got to save. I've got to save it as
okay.
a PNG and then import it. But we're getting there.
Okay, can they still see the How to Die 101?
Yeah, so How to Die 101 is
Okay.
still there.
So he was explaining to us the idea behind spacing. If you go up in space and then somebody just completely breaks the rules, the crew commander can decide that they can be ejected out into space, or if you're already on Mars, you would be left out ejected out the airlock without any spacesuit on. We ended up not having to space anyone officially, so that was good. But it was, I don't know, it was kind of a fun idea, but at the same time, that was, they can't see what.
This?
No.
This is what she's talking about.
Okay,
It says,
okay.
It was okay. Sorry, it was a fun idea, the whole spacing thing. But one of the things we went over, it happened to be right after the EVA where I had died, was what you would do for the good of the mission and also kind of the whole ethics behind what would you do if somebody died on a mission to Mars, whether it were in space or if you're already on Mars. Like, would you just space them? Would you eject them out and leave them? Or would you use them for fertilizer? Our crew Rehab officer decided that day, since I died, we all voted they were going to turn me into fertilizer, so we planted some beans that day. My argument is, if I'm dead, why do I have to help in the garden? But I helped anyway. So that was the basic idea. I died on Mars, but then we decided after that they gave us like 3 lives. So I didn't use all my lives. Nobody did. Nobody had to be spaced. It was a good crew. I was glad nobody had to be spaced. I was glad they didn't decide to space me for something.
so I'm going to send a picture here of one other person who people may recognize here.
So that's when you died.
Yes.
This one.
So that's how this picture that's up is when you died on Mars.
Yeah.
And I got the phone call from Dr. Rupert. It's like, Hope is okay, but she died. And I'm like, what? So, essentially, I think, Hope, what happened was you are used to living at sea level.
Yes.
And you were up.
Somebody warned me. It's like just above 4,000 feet, which isn't all that high, but at the same time, I've lived for a very long time at sea level, and besides that, could have been dehydration, it could have been any number of factors, that I just couldn't breathe because of the lack of airflow through the suit's fans. It wasn't actually like sealed off. These aren't official suits that we were using. Technically airflow was still getting in, but maybe it was claustrophobia or something, which I never really had before. But anyway, so that would be good to investigate before going back to find out what actually happened, because it was a mystery to our health and safety officer.
Yeah. So shifting gears here, there's one other picture from Mars that I think we want to show, and
oh, okay. So that was Piggy. He has been in our family since longer than I've been alive. He was my older brother's toy. Piggy, a long time ago, started traveling with him and going places, and it became like a tradition to take him on trips. So then when I went to Mars, and then also it's something I've planned on for a while, when I go to space, he will be our zero-G indicator. I was not the only one to bring a zero-G indicator, but he was our official, or my official, zero-G indicator, and there he is sitting on top of one of the spacesuits, which is one that I later used, I think. And he was also there to help with the setting up the radio station and all that good stuff.
And of course, we don't have any pictures of the radio station because somebody forgot to take them.
No, I have a picture.
Oh, there is a picture?
I didn't send them to you?
No, I never got a picture from my daughter.
Okay.
So,
the ones I'm going to be using in Miracles. So
I will say this. ICOM donated an ICOM 7300. LDG donated a Z100A tuner. Bioenno donated a 30 amp hour battery. What else was donated?
Messi and Poloni
donated coax.
Chameleon antennas.
Chameleon antenna donated an MPAS 2.0 light.
That thing
or mini, rather.
That thing was really good to have there because I wanted to set it up on the first EVA, but I drew the short straw and didn't get to go out on the first EVA. So I, over the handheld radios in their suits, was talking between the HAB and the people on EVA, and I was just explaining to them how to set that antenna up, and it was really simple and it worked really well.
Yeah. And you guys were down
The
in a bowl.
non-hams were easily
Yeah,
able
Yeah.
to set it up.
non-ham set up the antenna, but you guys were sitting down in a bowl.
Yeah, that
Um,
too. The way they got the
Put yourself
coax to
back.
reach was
What?
Put yourself back.
we're still showing Piggy.
Mom's telling us to put ourselves back. She's a director. Hold on a second. We will put ourselves back. And here we are. Yeah. So, I used to do live television. So,
Wait, what was it called?
anyway, just about the stuff that was donated.
Yeah, so the way they could get the coax to reach, because we had to feed it through the back airlock, the way they could get it to work, it had to be like right next to a hill, and then we were also kind of in a valley surrounded by a lot of hills, but it still worked really well. Where was the farthest I talked? I think it was outside the U.S., somewhere Caribbean maybe? I'll have to look another time. But it worked really well, and so all the people who donated, have we forgotten anyone?
Yeah, I think so. Let's go. ICOM donated the 7300. LDG donated the tuner. The coax came from Messi and Poloni.
Mm-hmm. And
The
then Chameleon.
antenna came from Chameleon.
And Bioeno.
Bioeno donated the 30 amp hour battery.
Us.
Shack in the Box donated the Go Box and the labor of putting it all together. So, Shack in the Box. There we go, shackinthebox.com. I don't have fingers to point there anymore. Here. Shack in the Box managed to send the first amateur radio station to Mars.
Yep.
Sort of.
Yeah.
Probably the only amateur radio station that's ever going to go anywhere near Mars.
Why?
Well, who knows? We'll see.
Lou might be working on an
Yeah,
antenna.
Lou might be working on. Actually, we know a guy who built the antennas for the space station. He probably is working on an antenna for Mars right now, as we think. So
You have to ask him.
let's see. Are there any other questions here?
There were, and it's not about this, but going back, we should describe what the amputation, what your parts that were amputated used to look like, what they were like, what I described
Okay.
it as.
So somebody asked actually on here.
You mentioned something about glass.
Loki, seeing the pictures of your hands and feet, it looked like glass. Was that also what the physical form looked like? The hands and feet, and I'll pull up a picture here of my feet. We have a close up of my feet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, here.
I'll send a picture of your hands.
And Michelle's going to send a hand picture. So the skin, or actually everything died. That's necrosis, and the color, I think, that you see that looks like glass, is really betadine. They were putting a lot of betadine
Sort of,
on me.
but sort of not. They were dead. I describe them more like they reminded me of beef jerky. They got hard. They shriveled all up. They were like petrified wood almost.
Yeah. Wow. This is.
So that
hard to look
is.
at.
Oh, you haven't gotten it up yet. Sorry.
And you wonder why I don't like beef jerky.
Yeah.
Let's see.
This is true.
Let's see. Cancel.
So if you're sending me another one, don't cancel.
No. I was texting it instead of airdropping it.
Okay. So
I would do that first one. This one first.
yeah. All right. So I'm going to bring the picture.
So it was like beef jerky. His legs. They took those first, so they didn't get to the point that his hands got to. because
Oh,
they
yeah.
took it first. Like his toes shriveled up. They said that they may fall off.
You canceled the airdrop again.
I didn't.
If you, yeah, you
Yes,
X
you
out of
did.
it. You have to leave it on.
I thought it said it had gotten it. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, this is the hands now.
So both of his hands looked like that, and they were kind of frozen in place. So he could move the palm of his hands, and he could move the little part of his thumb that look like there's some color, normal natural color to it. But the rest he couldn't move. They were frozen in place, petrified.
Yeah, they were petrified.
And-
Oh my gosh, this is hard to see.
The next one you'll be able to see better as time went on. They were waiting for it to have a defining line, so they would know exactly where to amputate. So they had to make this one go. They had to allow this to go much farther, and this one, the hands. Think along the lines of 90-degree weather, meat sitting in your trash can outside for weeks. That's what
they
his
smell like.
hands were like. They smelled really bad. They were like, I don't know, oozing
Yeah.
all over. It was really bad. I mean, I could smell his hands from several rooms away. They got to the point, and I didn't want to say this too much to him then, but they would make you almost want to vomit because they were so bad. I don't know how he was living with it.
Yeah.
You can't see that one yet.
Yeah, here it comes. Sorry. There. That's what. That was the left hand. Looked like. I had what I used to call hand boogers that would fall off of my hands
So every
in the
morning,
bed.
every night, you'd clean the bed, clean the sheets, and every morning he would wake up and there were hand crumbs all over the bed because his hands were breaking off. His fingers were
Yeah.
breaking off.
So this is my left hand, and I'm going to set up to bring up a shot of my left hand now. You can see it is much better than it was when it was looking like this. So, again, this was probably caused by prolonged use of vasopressor drugs, which cut off the blood flow to your extremities so that you can
Okay.
stay alive. And Hope's
Going back
leaving
to
the room.
studying.
She's going back to studying. She is in school, in college. So yeah, how are the girls? Grace is in college as well. They are all four in college, and
Well, since all this started, you were asking how people were doing. Since all this started, two of them decided, the two older ones decided they wanted to go live in dorms. It was just too much for them to handle all that was going on here at home. Hope and Grace are still too young and not going to a school where there's dorms. So they are still at home.
yeah. So Zachary and Peyton are off at school. Let's see. Hope just applied to Embry-Riddle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, anyhow, so some other questions.
Pretty much, I think that's pretty much what it is. It's
How's
some-
Mom doing?
how's Mom doing?
Dennis is asking how you're doing.
How am I doing now? I'm doing okay now. I think before you're working on autopilot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anything in life prepares you for this. It's still a struggle. He is he's now able to do more on his own. I'm not having to feed him anymore. I am not having to change diapers anymore. So
Yeah.
so he's come a long way. So it's freed me up to be able to start doing. Well, I would say start doing other things, but it still is a lot of work. Yeah, there's still not much time to do other things besides doctor's appointments. There's still so many doctor's appointments.
Yes, we have on average between 10 and 12 doctor appointments per week
Oh yeah.
in multiple towns across the state of Florida. And when I say across the state of Florida, I really mean across the state of Florida.
Yeah.
We are driving to Jacksonville, we're driving to Orlando, Gainesville.
Yeah, several of the specialists are in
DeLand,
Gainesville. Several are in Orlando.
Yeah, I have to go to physical therapy 3 days a week in DeLand, which is a 100-mile round trip.
Mm-hmm.
We are both working full-time on getting me healthy and getting
Mm-hmm.
me back. I am getting better. I'm able to move around. There's some videos. I don't know if this video has sound. Hopefully it does. But I will.
Moving your body, come on, feel the beat. Let it get stronger. Come on, dance with me.
Wheelchair.
Give me the feels, feel the power. The music sounds fine to me. Flying in the magic, coming back into my dream. Get up, I wanna now to win you. I'm lucky, feeling right. I can't stop, won't stop, 'cause I'm feeling good. It's alright. Get up, the time has come to win you. I'm lucky, feeling right. And because I know how to feel good, it's alright. It's
Oh, cool.
moving your body, come on, feel the beat. Let it get stronger. Come on, dance with me. Give me the feels.
Video likes to loop, it looks like. So yeah, it looks like the video sound does work. So
So let's say so he started the YouTube channel because he wanted to know what life was going to look like with his legs amputated and possibly his hands.
Yeah.
Just what life might look like, and he had trouble finding anything.
yeah, so
I don't know that we need to go with what you found too much, but
let's just
there
say
wasn't
it's
anything-
not good information.
yeah,
It's
there
not-
wasn't good information out there. So he said, "I've got experience with a YouTube channel. Let's just show what life looks like." We've left out a lot of what life looks like. We haven't covered a lot of the things that it looks like, but we've
Yeah,
covered some things.
We had not planned on doing this YouTube live stream tonight. One of our good friends told us we should do it. So we didn't have much time to prepare.
Right.
So the lack of information out there on YouTube was pretty significant when I was looking for what life would be like and what would I expect and what was I going to go through. And I decided to start the No Limb Gym channel as a way to chronicle what's going on, but also to be able to help people and to possibly help inspire people. I've overcome a lot. Time to take my medicine. I've overcome a lot, and I got a lot more to overcome. But if I'm doing it, then somebody might be motivated by.
Yeah, I'm thinking
Right.
life is a bunch of doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of alarms going off even at home for medicines.
Yeah. alarms
Life is new.
for medicines. I want to play another video here. We're also fighting the insurance company, and the insurance company is denying basic things like prosthetics. So let's see what I had some positive movement on the prosthetic. So, there we go. I don't know if the music came through on that or not, did it? Oh, good. All right, so it is playing the music. So, as you can see, I got me some prosthetics. There's some humor on the channel. There's a lot
In
of,
reality, he has not gotten his prosthetics. He has not gotten his wheelchair. He has not gotten any of the stuff that he's supposed to be getting.
yeah.
Still fighting the insurance about those.
Yeah.
While people have blessed us and reached out and tried to donate things, James is such a unique case that much of
Yeah.
of the things that people have donated
Yes.
haven't fit his needs.
Guys, we have needs. We have great needs. We have a GoFundMe because of needs. What we can't use are things being dropped off at our doorstep because you think we might need it. You can't get rid of that stuff.
No, we can't bless someone else with it, even though he
Yeah.
can't use them. Like the shower chairs. Several people have donated shower chairs, and I love these people, and I am so thankful. But he can't use them because they are not sturdy enough to get on them the way he needs to get on them, or they're not wide enough to get the transfer board to be able to transfer onto them. The toilet chairs are the same way. There's not enough platform to get the transfer board, which is a whole nother story. You could see how that works on the other channel. But we just can't use some of the equipment, and you can't give it away because somebody's naked bottom might have been on it, even though they're brand new in the box, never been opened. You're not allowed to give them away. They're not allowed to accept them, so you can't give them to anybody. I mean, you can only give them to a person, but unless I have a person to give it to, there's nothing I can do. I'd have to store it somewhere. And right now we've got Hoyer lifts and all kinds of stuff. There's just no room.
Yeah.
So it's tough to find a home for them.
It is tough to find a home for them. So, so we do appreciate people trying to help out and appreciate
Yes.
people helping out.
So yeah, the GoFundMe, a lot of times you'll update there.
Actually, Andy, the Red Cross will not take them.
They're
we-
not allowed.
We've tried. VFW takes some things, but not all.
Kind of depends on who's
and-
doing the VFW stuff.
And I guess it depends on
Who's taking it. Sometimes they'll take them.
Goodwill
But yeah, I guess
won't.
it's like a sanitary thing. They don't want anything that has been used for anything personal.
Yeah.
A walker, sometimes they'll take. People have given us walkers. They've given us various things, but he's not to the walkers yet. And we're not sure what kind of walker you'll have to have, because they thought maybe you'd need a tall one for your
Yeah.
arms because your lack of fingers. But
Yeah. I'm
we're not there yet, so we don't know yet what they're going to require.
I'm pulling myself into and out of the Suburban now, just with my hand. I get to where I can see live. Just with this hand, I'm pulling into and out of the Suburban.
Mm-hmm. You're gonna
Um,
take a driver's test.
Yeah, I'm taking a driver's test. Thanks to Lori Bullis of Ride Independent Driving Evaluation and Rehab in Palm Coast. She found us actually through Facebook, I think, and showed up at our door. And she actually brought some stuff that we could use.
She's
an
got
occupational
involved.
therapist.
Yes, she's an occupational therapist. She got involved before the insurance found us an occupational and a physical therapist. So she
Yeah.
really started changing our lives because the insurance
were being
wasn't
told no.
providing. Yeah, they
Yeah.
weren't getting rehab for him, and the hospital said they wouldn't do rehab until he got prosthetics. Because they said we would run out before he got the prosthetics. So they said save your 12 visits till he gets prosthetics.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she found him a way to cut food and
That's right, I forgot about that.
yeah, she
got me,
and showed him how he can wash, and she just got him on the road of actually being able to do some things himself, and started teaching him. So she came over and spent hours
Yeah,
just
she
teaching
did.
him and teaching me some things that would help getting just various handles and seatbelt extensions and all kinds of stuff to
Yeah. That was,
start us on the road of you being independent.
yep. And
Things
then,
that we didn't know could be done.
And then at occupational therapy, which is, I'm doing that at a place called Physical, with an F, F-Y-Z, I-C-A-L, Therapy and Balance Centers
They're awesome.
in DeLand, Florida. They are awesome. It took 6 months to get in there, from when I got home, from the hospital. But once I got in, I've been making incredible progress. They have given me the freedom to fail.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the hospital on the rehab floor. They were really protective of me. And I'm not saying they shouldn't have been, but they wouldn't allow me to strive to get outside of the comfort zone. They had a mock-up of a car there, and I was like, I want to learn how to slide on the transfer board into a car. And I was told, oh, you'll never do that. That's too dangerous. And then once we got home from the hospital, and I saw how Faith Hannah's car was about the same height as the wheelchair, I thought, I want to go get a hamburger. And we slid.
Well,
I slid.
when you decided that you wanted to attempt it, we all basically we pulled in the family, the army of people here, and we thought we'll all be there to help make this happen. If he starts to fall, there's enough people there that can grab him, to
Yeah.
help get him back in his chair or whatever needed to be done. But yeah, the hospital did not allow him to. They wanted to powder puff him in every move that he made. That he's like, I'm not gonna. You can't expect me to not stretch my muscles and just do anything. That
Yeah.
you were spending more time fighting them, saying, just let me try. I want to try. I want to try to roll over by myself. I want to try to sit up by myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me try. Be here to catch me if I fall, but let me try. And a lot of things they wouldn't even let him try, to the point where he was getting upset and frustrated with
Yeah.
them and starting to raise his voice to them, saying, let me try.
Well, I remember
Don't touch me. Let me try.
we went back to the hospital, I don't know, about a month ago. And I went up to the rehab floor to say hi to them. And I wanted to show them what I could do, which is, whoops, I'm catching my pants. So I can pick myself up, as you can see. And when I went to show them that, every physical therapist in the building ran.
Jumped out
They
of their
jumped
yeah.
to keep me from falling. And I'm like, wow. At physical, they're like there to catch you, but they're not scared that you're going to die. So anyway, I was going to say
Barb
is,
trained him how to fall out of the chair.
Yeah, I was trained how to fall.
She said, "We're going to teach you how to fall out of the chair safely because you're going to fall.
yeah,
At
is-
various times in your life, you are going to
You're
fall.
going to
We're
fall
going
out
to
of the
teach
chair.
you how to get out
Yeah.
of the chair safely and back into it safely." So now her attitude is probably in a way more like mine. And if he falls, we're say, "Get yourself up."
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much exactly what it is. But one day she asked, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, I really want to learn how to climb in and out of the Suburban. Because sliding on a transfer board on my butt into Faith Hannah's car, every time I would go next to the Suburban, I would see that the seat was way up here. And
It would be
it
like
would
an
be
angle
like
like
a
this.
30-degree angle trying to get up. Maybe even close to 40-degree angle to get
probably
up
bigger.
into the Suburban. So Michelle and it wasn't going to happen. So Michelle and Barb went to go look, and the idea was let's what did you guys do? You went out. You were measuring.
We were measuring to see, several things. One is just measuring to see if there was anything that we needed to get, like a handle to help him pull himself up. Was he going to be able to reach it? Were we going to need to somehow have some other handle mounted in there that he can help to pull himself up? What are we going to need to do? And she said, we got a bunch of measurements, and she said, let's go inside and just bring him out here and see where the chair sits, see if we can get him to just kind of reach, and see how much farther of a distance it's going to need to be. Let's get him out here and check things. And when we got him out there and wheeled him up, his knees were right about where the running board was.
Yeah, well, the parking lot is angled,
Right.
and when I turned towards the truck, instead of coming in from the side, I kind of turned and came, and it was like, oh, I'm approaching it an entirely different way. And then I climbed up in the truck.
I know. And she says, well, let's see if you can try. And he did. He climbed right on up into the seat. In a way, it's not your typical way of climbing in a seat. It'd be like watching a 2-year-old climb into a seat, but he's just a huge 2-year-old.
Well, I pretty much was a huge 2-year-old anyway.
So he kind of had to swing himself around very different than you normally would. He climbs to the floor of the car, and then he climbs up onto the seat, kind of like a child would onto the sofa. They do what they can to pull themselves up into the seat. They might grab the cushion or whatever. He grabs the back of the seat and pulls himself into the Suburban. It surprised us all, I think, when he did it, and it was kind of like, well, that took care of that. We don't need to make any adjustments.
Yeah, and Loki, you're right. Like, I'm a prisoner of my own body, and they should help me to be freed, not guard me to keep me in.
Yep.
I have broken out
I'm
of
sure
jail.
it's liabilities why they wouldn't allow anything.
I've broken out of jail a few times. So, getting there. So we promised an update on the entire Hamradio.World crew. Let's see, Zechariah is in his junior year of college, and he is still doing differential equations and
Well, he's
stuff
probably long
that,
done with that.
well, stuff that you wouldn't understand, which is.
But he's in his
what he-
element this week.
He's in his element. Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
The Daytona 500 was this
Yeah.
week, last weekend or whatever. So they've got all the fun planes in town.
Yeah, the Thunderbirds were in town. An F-15 flew down from Seymour Johnson and went to Starbucks there at Embry-Riddle and got a couple cups of coffee and let the kids climb up on the airplane.
Because
That
they're
was kinda
former
cool.
students there, you said.
Yeah,
The
apparently
pilots.
the pilots were both former students, and they wanted to show off their plane to their fellow
Drooling
Embry-Riddle
students.
alumni. So it puts the $100 burger to shame, and it's a $45,000 cup of coffee. since it was about a $90,000 round trip in an F-15. But I'm sure they were practicing warfighting skills to be able to do that. So Zechariah's in his element. He's loving what he's doing. Faith Hannah is in Europe right now.
She got there what?
Got there
this morning?
yesterday morning. Got there yesterday morning. So her first time traveling without mom or dad. She has literally been all over the world, but this is the first time without us. So
She's enjoying school.
yeah,
She is she's student teaching.
yeah. So it's hope.
And so is Hope. Zechariah was, but his schedule's not. It didn't really allow it, so he ended up having to stop. And the professor understood. He's got several big classes this semester.
Yeah, he's.
Some major classes.
I think this is
semester.
Zechariah's big
toughest.
tough semester. So he's doing an engineering track. I don't think Hope really talked about what she's doing. She will be going into we think electrical engineering, and then to medical school, and then to the astronaut corps is her desire, her plan. Grace wants to be a paleontologist, and right before the surgery over a year ago, Grace and I took a really long trip together out to the West Coast and went to several national parks in the desert. Spent the night in the desert, a couple nights.
You went to California and back.
Went to
you
California
went to
back. We
work
drove.
and you went to work.
Yeah, we went to
in
work
Phoenix.
in Phoenix at a client's house, and we went to the International Wireless Communications Expo in Vegas, and then made a side trip into California
Grand
and
Canyon.
the Grand Canyon, and we did the dinosaur. I forget which one it was. It was a dinosaur track site where you could see dinosaur tracks.
Grace, you can correct them.
And Grace, if you want to come talk about this, you can. She's still busy.
She's got a big test on tomorrow. She's been studying
So-
all weekend.
Yeah, so she got to find dinosaur tracks when we were out there. That was really cool.
They came home thousands of pounds heavier from
Yes,
all
we
the
did.
rocks
Oh my
that she
gosh.
collected.
I climbed into the back of the Suburban today for the first time. I saw there's still rocks back there.
I know.
That's from, and there's still red dirt from driving in the Utah desert. But Grace and I camped under the stars in the Utah desert and got to see the horizon to horizon Milky Way. Got on the air the next morning and made several dozen contacts from the park. And then the next day we went to, we were in the desert one morning, and that night we were at 10,000 feet in the Grand Canyon, and with a blown out heart valve, I really realized that I've forgotten how high the Grand Canyon was. And then we did the saw sunset at the North Rim and drove through the night and got to the South Rim for sunrise, which was cool. I'm glad we did that. And that's a good picture there. We should send that. So Michelle's going to send a picture of me.
I figure I'd look through some of these pictures you're talking about. I've got some pictures of Grace and all on your trip.
Where Michelle just sent a picture where I'm sitting on the couch.
Climbed on the couch. So on November 12th, he sat on on our couch for the first time in almost a year.
Loki, Hope was on the list for Region 1, and to go to Yoda, and it just didn't work out. She was not able to travel under the age of 16. She could not travel by herself without a parent, and I wasn't able to go with her, and Michelle was not able.
I couldn't
to
take care
leave
of
me.
James, and
So
somebody volunteered to take her, but it just
yeah, it wasn't going to work with the law for Hope to be able to go with somebody besides a parent. And plus, she was in summer school, and she would have to miss class, and she was also going to go to the Mars Desert Research Station. So the choice was made to forego going to Yoda, which we really hoped that she could go to, in order to go to the Mars Desert Research Station. So that's why she did not go. I'm trying to find this picture. Here it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some pictures here too, but
That's why she didn't go. So here's a picture of the first time I got on the couch. That was really cool. First time I'd been on a couch in almost a year,
well, that was November 12th, so
November
yeah,
12th,
almost
yeah.
almost a year.
almost an entire year. Yeah. So any other questions that people may have? We're just kind of rambling on right now, and Michelle's looking for pictures to show. But are there any other questions that we can answer before we go? And I'll also say, please do go to the No Limb Gym whoops. Can't go there. Gotta put that here. We want a playlist. Go to the No Limb Gym YouTube channel and subscribe, please. And I'll put up a slate here. Okay, so I don't know when the audio went away.
Didn't know it did.
Yeah. Nobody said anything in the chat that I could see.
Nope, muted. They all say muted.
Oh, there. Wow, guys. Sorry about that. We got to have one video, one thing up that shows the chat, and then not be able to do everything. So all the pictures that I showed and didn't tell about, I'll show again. Wow, brain fart. Yes, the audio is back. So here is a picture of Grace in the desert at the dinosaur track site in Utah, and she was making contacts on 17 meters. Had a great time there, and she actually found hundreds of actual dinosaur tracks, which was really cool. And guys, sorry about the audio. I don't know what happened there. The system audio, it's been a long time since I've used Wirecast Studio, which is what I'm using for this live stream. And everything works in layers, and somehow the audio got put on a different layer that it should have been on, and it quit working. And then this picture here was taken at the Grand Canyon. And as you can see, Grace is out there on the south rim. You know, we got to see the north rim at sunset, and then make the drive throughout the night to get to the south rim in the morning to see the next sunrise. And that was really cool. Not many people have done that because it's about an 8-hour drive, I think, to be able to get from the south rim to the north rim. Even though if you could fly over it, it's like I think a half a mile from one rim to the other, but it's several hundred miles to drive to get around the river. And then this is the Titan Missile Museum, where Grace got to operate from there and operate using their disc cone antenna, which was really kind of cool. So, Michelle, you got anything else left to say here?
No, but I'm not sure what point we lost them. But so I don't know what to go back and re-say. So
Yeah, so I sound and look a lot better than last August. Yes, I do. Thank you, Lon.
yes,
Loki, I don't know if the audio muted when I was talking about Region 1, but Hope did not get to go because of school, and because she could not travel without a parent at 15 years old. Possibly next year. Hope got to go to Region 1 in Bethana went to Region 1 in South Africa in 2018, and that was a really fun trip. So
she did not bring a radio with her to Europe, as far as I'm aware.
no, but she did say she might try to operate the station at Bletchley Park
Okay.
at the RSGB Radio Society of Great Britain Museum
Okay.
at Bletchley Park. So that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. I'll say, as for your mind, since you're kind of tripping up a little bit here, your mind is there most of the time. But if you get infections, then you have difficulties.
Yeah. Okay, so the slate with no limb Jim is where it cuts off the audio. It clearly faded away when you put that page on. That makes sense. That was on that line. Good to know, Loki. But yeah, I do. When I have an infection, I have problems with my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, it's getting late, guys, and I haven't eaten dinner yet. Well, if Michelle had. Did we eat dinner?
Yes, we ate dinner.
See, my mind. That's right, Michelle made dinner, but that was a long time ago.
Yes.
Time for ice cream. So,
Yeah.
anyway, we will see about doing this again and trying to have some more videos and pictures. I hope to be able to get back out and get on the air and do ham radio stuff. We're going to keep this channel going. The girls and Zechariah will be much less involved as they get older and move on to different things. But I think we're going to still try to keep getting,
New content.
yes, new content. And Andy, she is in the UK right now. She is on a class trip.
Right now she's there for 10 days.
She's-
It's spring break.
She's there.
She's there for her a little bit, a day or so on each side of her spring break.
Yeah. She's
in-
spending a
in-
few days in England and a few days in France, and it's a religious studies course that she's doing, which I think is like the one class that isn't like,
She just wanted to do it.
yeah, biology and business and all those things that she's doing.
Yeah. And she plans on spending the summer in Austria doing
Yeah,
a
and she's
semester
going
in
to be
Austria?
doing a semester in Austria over the summer. So she will. I think she's wanting to go to Friedrichshafen. So anybody who goes to Friedrichshafen should be looking for Faith Hannah. I think she's going to be hanging out with the Yoda crowd from Region 1.
She's talking about it.
Yeah.
So,
So she's talking about going to Friedrichshafen. I think that would be a really cool, great opportunity because I think her flight was going to be cheaper going there anyway. So yeah,
I'll say about the GoFundMe page, that probably tells a little bit better story with more of the details. In order, we jumped all around here.
yeah, it does.
We jumped way all around here.
It does a better job of telling the story about what happened. What else?
I'll say, Jason, going back to the GoFundMe stuff, Jason originally, Jason Johnson,
Yeah.
Hamradio 2.0, right, that's his. He originally asked me if he could start one, and I told him I wasn't going to be able to do anything for it because I just was spending so much time at the hospital. There was no time. And he put a little bit of information up, but when James actually woke up and wanted to tell, I guess, start his own thing, because Jason wasn't able to keep up with keeping it updated. So James said, let me start one, and so that's what this one is. It's the one that James started. It was awesome that Jason did that, because there's no way I could have done it, and he blessed us by starting that GoFundMe originally.
Yes.
But he wasn't really kind of in the loop of all the information, so he wasn't able to put all the details up onto that one.
Yeah. This is true. I was just watching things come up. Lon, she is going to Innsbruck for a month or two. And Loki, yes, Friedrichshafen is in Germany, but she would fly to Germany and go to Friedrichshafen and then take the train to Innsbruck for her class that she's taking. So if anybody's going to Friedrichshafen, Faith Hannah will probably be there. I think she will have one Shack in a Box shirt to wear.
Yeah, I told her that since so many people know who she is, but yet at the same time over there, not everybody will necessarily easily be able to pick her out. She may wear one of our purple shirts, but I don't know. Maybe not. We have bright purple shirts for those that don't know that we wear. It's about the color of Dennis's little purple D there.
Oh, yeah.
Bright purple.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, a lot of people recognize the purple shirts. Purple is Hope's favorite color, and so Hope picked out the color.
I picked out the color for the business. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So purple
So-
is our trademark color.
Yep. So, oh yeah, let's talk about Shack in a Box real quick. Shack in a Box is still in business.
Because of Hope.
Because of Hope, yes. Like Michelle said, we sold off everything at a ham fest in November.
We didn't. We did.
You guys had something to do with selling it too. But yeah, I sold off everything. The idea was is that we'd be able to rebuild it. I would be able to work on it. And I didn't keep very good records. And I guess
Well, of the how-to.
yeah, the how to.
The how to do it. Your part. You didn't take
Yeah.
do good records of your part.
Of the actual how to. And anyway, Hope re-engineered everything and taught Michelle and her sisters.
And Grace and well, we all worked
and
on it.
the-
Zechariah, everybody, we all worked on it.
Everybody worked on it and got stuff redone for
Hemcation, Orlando,
and then they ended up selling everything in Orlando. And then
including the one box we couldn't totally finish, which we took
somebody-
the radios out of our own
yeah, somebody
stuff,
bought our
and somebody
home
insisted
shack.
on buying our home shack.
So we've been a year
radios.
without a shack. We've not been on the air for a year because we sold our shack.
And we haven't had
bought
time
it.
to rebuild our own.
Somebody bought it. So
Spring break's coming up. Maybe we
yeah,
can
spring
get it
break's
built.
coming up. Maybe we can build it.
We'll have to see.
We didn't get to try to work the guys on Bouvet, although I don't think we would have heard them here in Florida. Everybody here said they didn't hear them here.
You have another surgery coming up.
Yeah, I've got another surgery coming up. But Shack in the Box is still in business. We're slowly getting back to where we're producing things. I actually built a Go Box on my own with these two hands.
You did?
You and Grace
Well, yeah.
drilled the holes because I can't get out in the garage to drill. But I did the rest of it, which was really cool. So I'm excited about that.
Zechariah's been teaching you how to do the 3D printing.
Yep, we're doing 3D printing.
Zechariah's been doing it.
And he's been teaching me how to do it.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know.
Yep. So anyway, we'll do this again sometime soon. And appreciate everybody watching. And please do go and like and share this video everywhere. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do so. And go over to the No Limb Gym channel, please, and subscribe there and like and share it everywhere. And then please like and share the GoFundMe. We appreciate it. And we will be back stronger and better, like the $6 million man. Right?
I don't know.
Anyway, let me figure out how to turn this thing off. This is now where you guys get to see us both be like, how do we turn this thing off? What do we
Well,
do?"
you have gotten hearing aids now.
Yeah, I do have hearing aids. You're like, how do we turn this thing off, dear? I don't know what to do. So, anyway, I will show
Yes.
you this. Oh, crash. I don't have fingers. Sorry. That's what my screen looks like. So, a lot of stuff on the screen to be able to make this video happen.
See some of our radios up there.
Opened.
Up there.
Yep. HW16 and a Collins 53 something. So anyway, 73 everybody. I'm going to say we will talk to you later. Good night.
Bye.
Say good night, Gracie.